Discover the amazing secrets of transformative wealth. Master money-making in just 30 days. In the dim light of her cramped living room, Sarah swiped through social media, her mind cluttered with the burden of unfilled bills and empty grocery shelves. The tantalizing promise of financial freedom glowed from her screen, pulling her in. Desperation tinged the allure of the course offered at the local community college. Could it be a lifeline, or just another drop in a bucket that seemed perpetually empty? Each sentence she read fanned the flames of anxiety in her chest, spinning a web of hopeful yet conflicting emotions. After her husband left, leaving Sarah alone to grapple with both grief and financial despair, thoughts of education conjured a pang of guilt. Would seeking empowerment abandon Ellie and Max, her vibrant but often neglected children? Could she afford the time for evening classes, and the frayed threads of her sanity hanging on by a whisper? The ticking clock mocked her, a constant reminder of each moment stolen from motherhood in the pursuit of a dream that might crumble like the last cookie in her dwindling pantry. But beneath the weight of her fears lurked a flicker of defiance, nourished by childhood memories of her mother's unwavering belief in the power of education. Taking a deep breath, she registered for the class, anticipation punctuated with dread. As she stepped into the classroom, her heart raced. The laughter of other students felt like barbs against her worn sneakers and threadbare jeans. Each curious glance was a reminder of her struggle, her suffocating inadequacies rising like bile in her throat. With Mr. Jenkins at the helm, an enthusiastic glow in his eyes, hope swelled in her heart. His words painted vivid pictures of possibility, his anecdotes grounding complex theories into digestible bites. Slowly, she set to work on her passion project, an online pastry shop that fused creativity with income potential. The idea took root, growing with each class. Just as she began to weave those dreams into fabric, she caught snippets of muttered doubts from a classmate. Just a pipe dream, how naive can you be? A heaviness settled over her, the ground beneath her feet unsteady. Torn between the pursuit of her ambition and the innate duty as a mother to her children, she felt pulled in two directions. Just as Mr. Jenkins championed her idea, her relatives echoed concern, urging her to focus on the day-to-day struggles instead of dreams that could lead to financial ruin. Then the fateful day arrived, tension twisting tighter in her gut. While preparing her pitch, she realized that betrayal was lurking nearby. A fellow student pilfered her notes, paraded them as their own under the same fluorescent lights that once ignited her passion. Discouragement threatened to snuff out the flickering ember of hope within her, clawing at her resolve. Could she confront this treachery without unraveling? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As she grappled with the crushing blow of betrayal, Sarah's resolve swelled to confront the situation. She was on the brink of the pitch, a moment that could define her path. Fear and determination battled within her. Could she rise above this, not just for herself but for Ellie and Max? Gathering her scattered thoughts, she prepared to stand before judges and peers, her heart pounding, emitting a fierce awareness of her struggle, her purpose. As she began to speak, thoughts raced like wildfire. Would she falter? Or would this be her defining moment? Would courage trump cowardice? The room fell silent, and she felt the weight of every eye upon her, knowing their judgment hung precariously in the balance. As Sarah stood at the front of the room, staring into the sea of expectant faces, determination coiled tightly within her. She felt the chill of betrayal still fresh, yet she drew strength from it, transforming hurt into fuel for her ambition. Briefly, she closed her eyes, inhaling deeply and steadying her quaking nerves. Nobody could take away the creativity that enveloped her project, the countless late nights spent dreaming up recipes that fed both heart and soul. "Hello, everyone," she started, her voice wavering yet earnest. The words tumbled forth, unpolished but heartfelt. Today, I'm here to share with you an idea that's not just about pastries. It's about empowerment, connection, and reclaiming joy in a world that often feels bleak. Each word lingered in the air, echoing back to her as she saw their faces shift from skepticism to interest. Sarah leaned into her story. She spoke of long afternoons spent in her grandmother's kitchen, where every blend of flour, sugar, and love created not just sweets but cherished memories. She painted vivid pictures of her envisioned online pastry shop, a sanctuary for people seeking comfort through treats made with love. As her confidence grew, she noticed the budding interest reflected back at her from the judges. She shared her plans for a subscription service, memorable community events, even a blog that would spotlight the stories behind each recipe. With each point, she offered not just a pitch, but a glimpse into a future where she could balance nurturing her children while pursuing her dreams. At the culmination of her presentation, she pivoted the focus on her intentions. I want to create an inclusive space, accessible for those who might feel lost like me, not so long ago. With this venture, I want to lead by example for my kids, proving that dreams deserve to be chased. The applause that followed felt surreal, echoing like a heartbeat in her ears. But Sarah's triumph was tinged with the nagging doubt of the classmate's theft still replaying in her mind. Had her stolen notes brought forth an idea that was solely hers, or merely a reflection of someone else's ambition? After the presentations, as she mingled, Sarah spotted her betraying classmate. The weight in her chest grew heavier. This wasn't just about her potential success but about standing her ground. As the class dismissed, she approached her with a blend of trepidation and grit. "Can we talk?" she inquired, steel in her tone. The classmate shrugged, casual and defensive, but curiosity danced in her eyes. "What's up?" she replied, guarded yet intrigued. "I noticed some similarities between our pitches," Sarah began, forcing herself to maintain eye contact, searching for sincerity. "I thought we could have a conversation about it." What came next was pivotal. The confrontation tore at Sarah's insides, but it also ignited a fierce clarity. She realized she had more than a project. She had a voice, an opinion worth asserting. In that exchange, Sarah felt empowered, her voice gaining depth and clarity. Even if her ideas had been borrowed, the resilience to confront the issue was hers alone. In the midst of unease, she discovered a newfound sense of self-worth. The girl who once allowed life's chaos to drown her was learning to push back, to reclaim her narrative in her own way. But as the day ended, uncertainty loomed ahead. Would this confrontation lead to a toxic rivalry, or could it become an opportunity for growth? What she knew for certain was that she was at the edge of change, poised between fear and possibilities. As she left the classroom, Sarah made a vow. No more stepping back in the shadows. She would claim her space, learning not just to manage her life's chaos but to thrive within it. Only time would tell if she could transform this moment of confrontation into a stepping stone toward prosperity. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a message from Mr. Jenkins, offering support. She smiled, but a nagging question dripped in the back of her mind. What other obstacles lay ahead, waiting to challenge her newfound resolve? With restless anticipation and heart pounding, she braced for the unexpected, knowing the journey was truly just beginning. Would she continue to rise, or would her path take an unforeseen detour? The dawn light slanted through Sarah's kitchen window, casting warm rays over her workspace. The aroma of fresh coffee mingled with the tantalizing scent of cinnamon wafting from the oven, a stark contrast to the turmoil twisting within her. Today marked the start of an experiment, one that would test her skills, her patience, and her belief in herself. She had committed to launching her idea, albeit cautiously. As she organized her recipe cards, a jumble of handwritten notes and typed drafts, she focused on breathing deeply, tuning out the nagging voice that whispered doubts. What if you fail? What if you can't deliver? With each inhale, she resolved to replace those fears with determination, reminding herself of the visions that had driven her to this moment. The first task was to craft a signature pastry, a dish that encapsulated everything she wanted her shop to represent. She selected her grandmother's recipe for classic cinnamon rolls, cherishing each ingredient as she measured with care. The yeast danced to life, and as the dough rose, so did her confidence. The familiar motions soothed her nerves, pulling her deeper into the essence of her dream. Yet, thoughts of her classmate lurked in the corners of her mind like shadows. Replaying their confrontation, she found herself questioning whether she'd done enough in standing her ground. Was her voice assertive, or merely the echoes of doubt striking through her newfound strength? The reminder of betrayal ignited a fire within her, a motivation to prove that her worth extended far beyond a single idea. After several hours in the kitchen, Sarah emerged with a batch of glistening cinnamon rolls. The sight of her creations filled her with pride, yet uncertainty loomed over her next steps. She knew she needed feedback, a reality check before she could truly launch her venture. With apprehension, she thought of reaching out to people she respected, especially Mr. Jenkins, who had been a pillar of support. The thought of vulnerability sent a ripple of anxiety through her stomach. What if they didn't resonate with her pastry? What if her ideas were still too unpolished? Drawing herself up, Sarah decided to take the plunge. She snapped a few pictures of her rolling creations and sent them off along with a brief note to Mr. Jenkins. Her hands trembled as she hit send, an act both thrilling and nerve-wracking. What if he didn't reply? Pacing the kitchen, she felt the anxiety unwinding in waves. Inviting people into her creative process seemed daunting, exposing the fragile parts of her ambition. Yet, deep down, she realized that this openness would not only foster feedback, it had the potential to spark connections, just as she dreamed. Revisiting the community element woven through her initial pitch, it struck her how solitary her approach had been. Hours later, as dusk fell, the weight of the day hung heavy over her. An alert from her phone jolted her from her thoughts. Mr. Jenkins' response lit up the screen. With bated breath, she opened the message. "Wow, Sarah, these look fantastic. I love the energy behind your project. Let's set up a time to talk. A few more eyes on your pastries could provide a valuable perspective." A rush of exhilaration surged through her. Encouragement from someone she admired fueled her ambition, reinforcing her commitment to her dream. Yet, an unexpected fear crept in. As she dove deeper into this venture, would she still find room for her children? Could she keep balance while chasing this dream? Questions rippled through her mind, pushing her toward a new challenge, finding ways to incorporate her family into her budding business. Could she involve them in the baking process, creating lasting memories while building her brand? As she planned her first baking day with the kids, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. She would not only serve her community through the pastries but also her family. This newfound synergy lifted her spirits, feeding her ambition in ways she hadn't envisioned. Yet just as she started to foster joy, her phone buzzed. Again, a message from her classmate, acknowledging the similarities in their projects, surfaced in her notifications. Was this a gesture of reconciliation or a veiled threat? Taking a deep breath, Sarah steeled herself. The time had come to confront not just her creative roadblocks, but everything that came with putting herself out there, including her conflicts. With determination swirling within her, she texted back, "Let's discuss. We need to clarify our paths." Her journey was just beginning. What would this confrontation uncover about herself, and could it lead to an unexpected collaboration? The echoes of her choices waited to shape the next chapter. The next morning, Sarah awoke with a sense of purpose threading through her veins. The sun poured through the kitchen window, illuminating her workspace. She poured herself a cup of coffee, its warmth cradling her hands. This day was not just about baking. It was an opportunity to meld her aspirations with her reality. Yet the message from her classmate sat like a stone in her stomach. "Let's discuss. We need to clarify our paths." The words lingered. Would she emerge stronger or more vulnerable from this confrontation? The thought rattled her, the echoes of doubt threatening to resurface. As she kneaded dough for her next creation, her thoughts churned. This was not just flour and sugar. Each recipe was infused with her emotions, her struggles, her victories. Today, She also needed to face the practicalities of her burgeoning business. How to create a schedule that wove her family into her journey while maintaining her vibrancy at the forefront of her dreams. The plan was simple yet essential. She crafted a list detailing the tasks she could share with her kids, measuring ingredients, rolling dough, and finally, adding the signature glaze. This would be their time together, a way to nurture her family bond while teaching them the joy of baking. But another piece of her mind tugged at her, bringing forth the worries of failure. What if they disrupted her process? What if chaos engulfed her carefully structured plans? Gripping the countertop, she took a deep breath and thought about her own childhood. How her mother had created magic in the kitchen while including her sister and her every step of the way. Those moments had forged her passionate love for baking. She made a choice then, to embrace the potential for messiness because it bore the possibility of connection. With the dough rising, she turned her focus outward. Her phone buzzed with a reminder of her meeting with Mr. Jenkins later that day. The apprehension swelled again, calling into question whether she was ready to solicit feedback. She recalled the pride swelling in her chest as she shared her creations. This could be another step in her transformational journey. Each comment or critique would not define her. They might refine her vision instead. Then, her phone chimed with a new message, a confirmation from her classmate for that evening. Looking forward to discussing our projects. She felt a mixture of irritation and anticipation. Why did they want to meet? Was it to compare notes or to stake claim on ideas? She had to prepare herself mentally for whatever the encounter would unfold. Later in the day, when the kitchen filled with the singular sweetness of her baking, she felt more grounded. She measured in precision, each cup and pinch adding structure to the creativity swirling in her mind. Would these pastries emerge as a true reflection of her identity, of her brand? Or would they fall flat, another moment swallowed by fear of inadequacy? Just as she was about to glaze her fresh batch, her children burst into the kitchen, eager to contribute. Their laughter struck a chord of warmth, a reminder of the beauty in collaboration. They jumped in, tiny hands eager and enthusiastic. As flour went everywhere and giggles filled the air, her heart overflowed. This was the joy she yearned for, the rhythm of life that touched both her career and her family. Amidst the chaos, she found clarity. The meeting with Mr. Jenkins and the confrontation later held opportunities, each daunting in its own way, yet rich with potential for growth. Baking was becoming more than just a passion. It was evolving into a platform that heightened her resilience and unified her family. As the cinnamon rolls emerged from the oven, perfectly golden and fluffy, Sarah felt an undeniable shift within her. Yes, there were still dangers ahead: competition from her classmate, the skepticism in her own mind, the strain of balancing family and ambition, but she was ready. A sudden notification buzzed. Her heart raced. Mr. Jenkins wanted to chat in 15 minutes. Steeling herself, Sarah took a deep breath. It was time to own her journey fully. What insights would their conversation reveal? Would it bolster her ambitions or challenge her assertiveness, pushing her to the next level? She moved forward, ready to embrace the unfolding challenges and unveil the richness of her path. The conversation with Mr. Jenkins was an impending storm, a mix of excitement and dread swirling within her. He had been a steady presence in the baking community, known for his tough yet constructive critiques. As she paced in her kitchen, thoughts spiraling, she rehearsed what she wanted to share. She envisioned presenting her recent creations, highlighting her passion. But what if he didn't see the potential she felt coursing through her? With impatience coursing through her, she glanced at the timer ticking down. Each second amplified her anxiety. Sarah took a moment to refocus, a technique her mentor had once shared. She centered herself, feeling the coolness of the marble countertop under her palms, and she closed her eyes. Anticipation transformed into resolve. This was her chance to break down her own barriers, to process not only feedback but growth. When the video call connected, Mr. Jenkins appeared on the screen, his expression thoughtful yet ready for critique. "Sarah, it's good to see you," he said, his voice steady. "I've been reviewing your portfolio." "Thank you for taking the time," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. I've been working hard on developing my brand. Hard work is necessary, but we both know it's not enough, he countered, a hint of challenge in his tone. What are you prepared to change? As his words hung in the air, they acted as both a dagger and a catalyst. Her heart raced, contrasting her initial zeal with a sobering reality check. I want to expand my reach, she stated, choosing to meet his gaze through the screen. But I fear losing my identity in the process. A faint smile formed on his lips. That's a common struggle. To maintain authenticity while scaling is difficult but not impossible. Focus on what sets you apart. What story do you want to tell through your baking? Sarah felt an urgent spark ignite within her, a revelation. I want to showcase the connection between family and tradition, she said, surprising even herself. Each recipe has a story woven into it. My mother's legacy mixed with my children's laughter. Then frame it that way, he encouraged, leaning forward, intently engaged. Your pastries aren't just products. They're embodiments of your journey. Lean into that narrative with your branding. It needs to resonate with your audience emotionally as much as it tastes good. With every word, Sarah felt her vision expand. She began to see the possibility again, glimmers of hope intertwined with the challenges. Could her business be both a family venture and an authentic expression of her values? The hesitation that had previously engulfed her began to dissolve. I can shift my marketing focus, tell more stories about each creation, she responded, her voice growing in confidence. I can even involve my kids in the process. Showcase their experiences in the kitchen. A nod of approval from Mr. Jenkins fueled her conviction further. Absolutely. People seek relatability, a taste of authenticity in the fluffiest of pastries. And remember, as you grow, having that emotional tether will help you navigate the inevitable competition. Once the call ended, Sarah remained in her kitchen, herb-scented flour remnants still dusting the counter. She had stepped out of her comfort zone, challenged herself with difficult questions, and emerged invigorated. Yet somewhere beneath her elation lingered suspicion about her classmates' intentions. Why had their message felt possessive? What if they had ideas that would overshadow hers? Sitting down with her notes, Sarah realized she had a decision to make. Instead of seeing her classmate as a rival, could she view them as a potential collaborator? Perhaps there was room for differing visions within the same space. Determination surged. She would reach out with a proposal for collaboration, an invitation to blend their ideas. What did she have to lose? What new heights could they achieve together? As she drafted the message, Sarah sensed a growing lightness within herself. The path before her seemed less about solitary struggle and more about collective empowerment. With her heart racing yet again, she clicked send. Would this new alliance bring harmony or unleash unexpected turmoil and competition? There was no turning back now. She was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The screen flashed with a notification. Her classmate had replied already. What could they possibly say? The moment Sarah opened her classmate's message, her heart quickened. She read the words quickly, absorbing them like a sponge. Just as anticipated, the tone was cautiously optimistic, tinged with excitement. I love your idea. Let us meet tomorrow to brainstorm. I've been wanting to collaborate, but I didn't know if you'd be open to it. The simple affirmation brought a wave of relief mixed with apprehension. Visualizing the meeting, Sarah felt her stomach twist. This was not simply a collaboration. It was a chance to weave two narratives into something richer than she could have conjured alone. But what if their styles clashed? What if her vision became diluted? Questions invaded her mind as she felt the pressure of expectations mounting anew. She paced her kitchen once again, stirring her thoughts. The idea of blending her story with another's intrigued her, a fusion of flavors reflecting both family legacies and personal ambitions. Yet deep down, she fought an emerging sense of vulnerability. What if her classmates' ideas overshadowed her own? In a world where authenticity was currency, could she still shine her own light, or would she find herself eclipsed? Determined not to let self-doubt steer her, Sarah decided to prepare for the meeting. She gathered her favorite family recipes, the ones infused with laughter and nostalgia, and created a visual presentation that delicately outlined her vision. This was not just about ingredients. Her creations were meant to foster connection. They told the tale of family dinners that had brought them all together over the years, and the new memories she hoped to create with her children. As she placed everything on her kitchen counter, the sun streamed in through the window, bathing the space in warm light. For a moment, Sarah felt anchored in that creative flow, a blend of hope and purpose. The following day, she met her classmate at a local cafe, its earthy tones and the scent of fresh coffee creating an inviting atmosphere. They greeted each other hesitantly, but the initial awkwardness melted away as they began discussing their ideas. Sarah spoke passionately about her family's recipes, sharing the stories behind them, while her classmate chimed in with their vision of an innovative approach to pastries, their experience with modern techniques intertwining effortlessly. But as the conversation deepened, Sarah noticed a shift. Her classmate's enthusiasm was infectious, but a competitive edge began to emerge. They suggested a modern twist on one of Sarah's cherished recipes, and with each proposal, Sarah felt a pang of betrayal. "Yes, but that's our family recipe," she pushed back gently, attempting to maintain the essence of her vision. "It's special to me. I'd prefer to stay true to the traditional method." Her classmate seemed taken aback for a moment, then responded with an expression that blended surprise and challenge. "Aren't we trying to reach new audiences? Isn't innovation part of what we agreed upon?" The words hung in the air, thicker than the aroma of coffee. Sarah's heart raced. Their ambitions were starting to clash. Would she continue down this path of collaboration, risking her identity for the sake of popularity and shared success? Or would she draw a firm line, protecting the legacy of her family recipes at the cost of a potential partnership? Each option weighed heavily on her heart, echoing Mr. Jenkins' challenge about authenticity. As they navigated through various ideas, Sarah realized this collaboration was now about more than creating pastries. It was a test of her boundaries. She took a deep breath and decided it was time to confront the tension directly. "What's the vision for both of us?" she asked, sitting up straighter. Their gazes locked, and she felt the determination settle within herself. "Because whatever we do, it has to feel genuine. I won't compromise my roots." Her classmate looked thoughtful, a mix of understanding and surprise crossing their features. Sarah sensed a shift in the air, a moment that could either solidify or shatter their partnership. What would their next move be? The silence that followed Sarah's declaration settled over the table like an unexpected fog. Her classmate's eyes reflected contemplation, but also uncertainty. Sarah could almost see the wheels turning in their mind, weighing the balance between creative ambition and personal integrity. The moment stretched, surrendering to the gravity of their budding partnership. "I appreciate your passion, Sarah," her classmate eventually replied, striving for a tone of empathy. "But art is also about evolution. We have to adapt to survive. Can't we find a way to respect tradition while still innovating?" That word innovating echoed in Sarah's mind. It had become a catchphrase in their world, an excuse for changing things that didn't need to be altered. She found herself questioning if innovation should always be the priority. Wasn't there beauty and value in the very traditions she was trying to uphold? This wasn't just a business venture. It was her family history at stake. "I agree that adaptation is key," she countered, her voice steady despite the rising tide of emotions. "But what I'm saying is that my recipes are the foundation of my story. Without that foundation, the structure collapses." "Wouldn't you feel the same about your ideas?" A flicker of understanding passed between them, though it required a delicate frontier to traverse. "I see your point," her classmate said, their tone softening. "Maybe we can create something that honors the old while inviting the new. Let us think about how we can merge our visions without sacrificing what makes us unique." In that moment, a new approach ignited within Sarah. This collaboration didn't have to be a battleground, but rather a canvas. They could paint an image that included both flavors, a visual representation of unity in diversity. Each recipe could blossom with interpretations that hadn't existed before. Traditional pastries could be given fresh life without abandoning their essence. I like that idea, Sarah replied, albeit cautiously. Perhaps we can create a series, blending the old with the new. For example, using my recipe as the base while you introduce your modern techniques could yield something entirely special. The enthusiasm bubbling in their conversation slowly thawed the residual tension. They began sketching ideas, mixing recipes and techniques as the cafe buzzed around them. With each suggestion shared and each concept built upon, Sarah felt a surge of excitement rise within her. Instead of compromising, she was discovering new dimensions of her own creativity. As they delved deeper into brainstorming, Sarah felt her initial hesitation begin to morph into a newfound strength. Planning merged ideas felt liberating, a charmed dance of thoughts and flavors. This wasn't just collaboration. It was the birth of something more significant, a means of solidifying her foundation while allowing for growth. Sarah realized that being authentic didn't mean resisting change. It was about guiding it with intention. Thumbing through her sketchbook, her mind raced with potential. The responsibility of maintaining her legacy while stepping into a new realm invigorated her. Each recipe became an opportunity to explore identities, allowing herself to dine at the intersection of tradition and innovation. However, a nagging thought lingered beneath the warmth of creative discovery. What if her classmates' vision still overshadowed hers? Could their individualities truly mesh without one devouring the other? Sarah glanced at her classmate, their eyes sparkling with ideas. They appeared excited, buoyed by the weight of possibility. The question remained crucial. Their collaboration could either forge a path to mutual success or slip into a competition that undermined both of their visions. "What will our next step be?" she asked, firm but hopeful. "We need to outline how we can balance our contributions without losing ourselves in the process." Her question hung over the table like an unspoken promise, rooting both in a shared future yet uncharted. Sarah felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. Little did she know, the next moment would not only define their collaboration but also journey into her own deeper identity and what she was willing to sacrifice for it. Would she stand her ground, or let her voice be drowned out in the chorus of compromise? The weight of uncharted territory pressed upon her. As the sun dipped lower, casting curious shadows through the cafe window, Sarah took a deep breath, fully aware of the challenge that lay ahead. She would soon face another test of her authenticity, with everything at stake. The moment crackled with unspoken tension as Sarah considered her classmates' words. They had agreed on a direction, blending their crafts, yet the foundation of her culinary identity felt precarious. Could she truly trust her partner with the essence of her family recipes? Doubt mingled with vision, tugging her in conflicting directions. "We should create a framework," Sarah suggested, her tone more deliberate now. "Let us list out the core elements of my recipes that can't change the textures, the flavors, and identify where innovation can enhance that without overshadowing the original intent." Her classmate nodded. "That's a great approach. Maybe we can categorize the dishes, determining which ones are more flexible for modern reinterpretation while keeping others as they are. This way, we maintain a clear distinction without losing the integrity of your heritage." Each response thrummed in Sarah's mind, sending ripples of determination through her being. As the conversation unfolded, she realized she wasn't just articulating concerns. She was asserting her vision. For too long, fear of losing her identity had stifled her creativity. This discussion was an opportunity to define her narrative, not just in terms of her past but also as she stepped into this collaborative future. The cafe's atmosphere vibrated with chatter and the hum of espresso machines, yet Sarah felt enveloped in a bubble of focus. The mere act of stating her concerns transformed them into actionable ideas. Every suggestion she proposed emerged from the depths of her passion. The sketches in her notebook began to morph, representing not just recipes but a new ethos. But beneath her excitement lingered trepidation. What if her assertiveness shifted the balance of their relationship? Collaboration demanded compromise, yet compromise felt like a betrayal of her roots. A single misstep could flip the scale, altering her partnership into a struggle for dominance rather than mutual growth. "Let us also set milestones," she continued, her system of organized thought increasingly taking shape. We can review our progress weekly, making adjustments as necessary. If any aspect feels off, we address it then and there, no lingering doubts. Her classmate's expression shifted to intrigue. What if we also invited feedback from others to ensure we don't just echo our own ideas, creating a more informed output? Sarah paused, impressed by the foresight. The thought of external validation had once intimidated her, conjuring images of vulnerability and harsh critiques. Yet the more she pondered it, the more liberating it appeared. Feedback would act as a mirror, reflecting her evolution and grounding their collaboration in reality. All right, let us find a way to include a few trusted mentors in our discussions, she conceded, feeling empowered. The risk felt worthwhile, a solid addition to her framework where she not only sought to preserve but also expand her legacy. But doubts persisted, whispering remnants of insecurity. Her mind raced with scenarios. What if those mentors favored her classmates' modern methods? Would that swing the pendulum, forcing her into a subordinate role? Double-checking her internal commitment, Sarah reminded herself that growth could encompass both her ambitions and a refreshing perspective alongside her own. In fact, it could strengthen her narrative, exposing layers of resilience she had yet to uncover. Standing at this crucial intersection, she needed to remember that evolving didn't equate to erasing her roots. Let us not lose sight of our initial goal, Sarah emphasized, her voice firm. We need to honor tradition while breaking new ground. Each gathering should reaffirm our vision's mission. Her classmates smiled, buoyed by the synergy blooming around them. Exactly. Together, we can cultivate something everyone can savor, not just our own experiences. As they continued developing their framework, Sarah's confidence flourished. Each decision, each exchange felt like an intricate puzzle piece sliding into place, revealing a clearer image of their collaborative future. Just as she began to feel settled on this path, an unsettling thought crept in: what would happen if it didn't lead to the success she envisioned? Deep down, could she accept the risk of potential failure, knowing it could challenge not just her career but her very identity? The cafe lights flickered momentarily, casting contrasting shadows across the table as Sarah weighed her ambitions against her fears. This partnership was no longer simply about preserving her family's recipes. It echoed broader themes of self-acceptance, vulnerability, and the struggle for autonomy within the sphere of collaboration. With a decisive breath, she pulled her sketchbook closer, ready to chart the course ahead. Each drawing was a promise, an embodiment of who she was and who she dared to become. Yet, what awaited her at the intersection of authentic tradition and bold innovation remained tantalizingly elusive. The moment was ripe for revelation, primed to challenge not just her partnership, but the very essence of her culinary identity. Just as new paths attracted her, a shadow of doubt whispered the invisible cost of ambition. Would Sarah's pursuit of greatness become the very thing that disconnected her from the roots she cherished? The days following their conversation were marked by a mix of excitement and anxiety as Sarah immersed herself in refining the culinary framework. Each session with her classmate became an exploration, not just of ingredients but of identity. Yet, every ingredient brought with it whispers of self-doubt. Was she straying too far? Post-it notes adorned the walls of her small kitchen, filled with ideas and reminders of their goals. They categorized traditional dishes, meticulously labeling which ones invited innovation. With each passing day, Sarah found herself increasingly excited about combining the old with the new. Yet the specter of her family's legacy loomed large. One evening, while experimenting with a revised version of her grandmother's braised short ribs, Sarah's initial enthusiasm faded into frustration. As she adjusted spices, trying to infuse a modern flair, she realized she was second-guessing everything. Every pinch of salt, every dash of pepper was guided by a fear of losing her authentic voice. She wiped her brow, scowling at the bubbling pot. How did innovation intersect with authenticity without diluting the fond memories those recipes evoked? Could she stand firm in her culinary roots while building something new? Seeking clarity, Sarah reconnected with her grandmother's handwritten cookbook. The brittle pages surveyed her like silent guardians as she traced the words with her fingers. It felt grounding. It reminded her why she entered this culinary journey in the first place. Yet, as she flipped through the recipes, their warmth contrasted starkly with her current turmoil, one of tension and uncertainty. With a deep breath, she picked up a pen and began to jot down her thoughts. Innovation doesn't mean abandoning my roots. It should be about honoring them with an updated perspective. Each letter she penned felt like an affirmation, an echo of inner resolve knocking against the walls of insecurity. Encouraged by this newfound clarity, Sarah proposed a meeting with her classmate to share her reflections. As they sat across from one another at the cafe, she felt a surge of purpose. "I think we can become storytellers through our dishes," she declared, a steadiness in her voice. "Every bite can tell a tale that bridges the past with the present." Her classmate's eyes widened, listening intently. That essay powerful perspective. By embracing both elements, we can define a distinct culinary identity that honors tradition while appealing to a modern audience. As they collaborated, energy coursed through both of them, their synergy, allowing them to navigate and weave contrasting strands into a cohesive narrative. They sketched new dishes that bore the spirit of her grandmother's recipes yet bore a fresh signature. Seasoned insights mingled, forming a tapestry that captured the essence both appetites longed for. But confidence remained intertwined with the fear of judgment. The impending feedback from their mentors loomed over her like a storm cloud. What if their critiques led to harsh realities? The stronger Sarah voiced her vision, the greater the fear became that feedback would reveal seams not simply in their culinary framework, but in her identity as well. One night, rehearsing her presentation, she found her voice trembling. How many times had she sat in kitchens watching her grandmother at work, each knife cut infused with a lifetime of practice and stories? Did her attempts to modernize dilute that art, or could she illuminate different aspects of it? The tension coiled tighter in her stomach as she stared into her own reflection in the window. She was not just presenting a menu. She was preparing to showcase her very soul. Just as the thought swirled, her phone pinged with a reminder of their upcoming session with the mentors. A feeling of dread sank heavily in her chest. How could she openly face their scrutiny when vulnerability felt like a risk she was not yet ready to embrace? The urgency settled in, and Sarah grappled with the choices ahead. Would she continue to shield herself from the potential sting of criticism, or would she embrace it, recognizing that both triumph and failure are integral to growth? An undeniable resolve began to swell within her. Tomorrow was not just about the dishes. It was her declaration of self, a challenge to herself to confront what felt unsafe. With a determined sigh, she turned back to her draft, ready to refine her concept, her heartbeat resonating as she envisioned opening new doors in both her cooking and who she was. But was she truly prepared to confront the judgments ahead? The moment was at hand, yet uncertainty lingered, echoing like an unanswered question, demanding her attention. The day of the mentor meeting arrived, and Sarah stood before her sketches, anxiety twirling in knots in her stomach. The sun streamed through the window, casting warmth over her kitchen, but the light did little to soothe her nerves. Today could redefine everything, the fusion of her family's legacy and her modern vision now set to be scrutinized. As she lined up her elaborate presentation, each photograph showcased not only her carefully curated pastries, but the stories behind them. No longer were they just recipes. They were a glimpse into her journey, her struggles and triumphs as a mother and entrepreneur. This framing made the memories of her grandmother's laughter and the taste of warm cinnamon rolls now feel like a call to arms. With each step to the meeting room, Sarah felt the heaviness in her heart shift. She was ready to reclaim her narrative. It was about more than just pastries. This was her platform for self-expression. When the mentors arrived, the room buzzed with anticipation. Mr. Jenkins, along with two other seasoned professionals in the culinary field, welcomed her warmly. As she settled in front of them, the great clamor of her unease began to dissolve in a controlled confidence. "Thank you all for being here. Today, I am excited to share a project that resonates deeply with me," she commenced, her voice steady even if her hands trembled slightly. For the next 45 minutes, Sarah unveiled her pastries, sharing each one's story how it represented her childhood, her family, and her aspirations as she navigated her past while leaning into her future. The mentors listened, nodding thoughtfully, providing encouraging smiles during her presentation. The world doesn't just need pastries. It needs stories, she exclaimed, sharing her unique amalgamation of innovative techniques and traditional recipes. By honoring the core elements of my family recipes while introducing modern influences, I genuinely believe we can create something that doesn't just fill stomachs but also souls. As she finished, silence enveloped the room. Heart racing, she took a breath, her intrinsic value standing tall in her mind. After what felt like an eternity, Mr. Jenkins broke the quiet. Sarah, your passion is palpable. You've accomplished not only a pitch but a narrative, a way to connect with your audience emotionally. This approach could resonate greatly. The other mentors chimed in, affirming her vision, offering pragmatic advice rooted in their experiences. They suggested strategic insights on marketing and branding that could carry her story from the kitchen to the broader community. But most importantly, they validated Sarah's essence. These seasoned professionals understood she didn't need to dilute her narrative. She could accentuate her lineage as she pushed into new territory. As the meeting concluded, Sarah felt an exuberance bubbling within her. She had transformed. She was no longer the woman who crept in with timid dreams. She had conquered her fear, confronted her insecurities, and emerged as someone who spoke her truth. In the following weeks, as she began rolling out her combined recipes with her classmate, their collaborative culinary venture began to flourish. Each creation danced between tradition and modernity: cinnamon rolls infused with herbs and spices, short ribs braised with a zest of citrus. Every dish proclaimed her once clouded vision of who she was. Not a compromise but a celebration. Public reception was explosive. Customers responded positively, raving about the meaning behind each bite. Sarah was invited to speak about her blending of recipes at local markets and community events, recognized not just as a baker, but as a voice for aspiring entrepreneurs. Her video pitch, shared widely, garnered support and funding for her online shop. Finally, Sarah felt her careful construction of family tradition, maternal instinct, and a forward-thinking approach recognized. Her online pastry shop transformed into more than a business. It became a haven of connection and storytelling. Through this metamorphosis, she found her solid confidence and established her position in the culinary world. She had proven that she could balance ambition with authenticity and that she could honor her roots while reaching for the stars. But even more significantly, she distilled this reflection into a lesson she would impart to Ellie and Max. Dreams are worth pursuing, but always remember the stories that brought you here. As she continued to grow her brand, reaching people through pastries laced with love and memory, Sarah affirmed her commitment not just to her dreams, but to her family. The journey was indeed hers, ripe with personal achievement and rich recognition. This is the moment for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support, it matters. Comment below with your reactions and your theories about Sarah's journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion. You need to be part of this journey of personal overcoming stories. Don't wait even one more second to show your support.